Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 36 of Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. And yeah, this room is exactly what you think it is. It's Edgeworth's office. In other words, had it not been for Angel Star, he'd have been framed for murder again. You know, Capcom is gonna stop doing that, framing main characters for murder. It only gets stale after the first two times it happens. But that's how many Maya Fey fans will feel every time she's accused of murder. But even worse, there's still the matter of, well, who's going to be on the opposition? And the fact that Emma also called Edgeworth a stuck-up jerk behind his back, well, let's just say, she certainly changed her tune real quick. So, and plus he knows how to be ironic. Very ironic. Whatever the case, we came up here to talk to Edgeworth because Jake Marshall sent us here. And she also insults the man's car, too. By the way, in, I think, the second episode of Ace Attorney, the anime series, Edgeworth literally power slides in the goddamn courtroom with ease. With the greatest of ease. I wish I could show that. That would be absolutely hilarious. But I do understand why Rise from the Ashes, sorry. Wrong case, by the way, is not actually shown on the Phoenix Wright anime because it's redundant. We just got finished getting Edgeworth off of a murder charge, and they almost put him on one like 2 months after the fact. Oh, and for the record, I forgot to mention this back in part 35. This was heavily edited. This and every other entry in the series in the trilogy was heavily edited to make Rise from the Ashes flow together with the rest of the story, because this is technically filler. And it's only in the HD version that this happened. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it a couple of times, as much as my disgust for this case, but still. The fact that this is supposedly is canon now is kind of irksome. Even worse, Edgeworth is now officially the prosecutor for this case, considering Lana is the one on trial. And of course, they're also throwing a flashback to all of the rumors that were going around on him. Rumors that he brought on himself. Like helping Wright, forging evidence, forging autopsy reports. And despite the fact that Edgeworth was almost arrested for a murder he didn't commit twice, the dirty deeds that Edgeworth actually committed, well, that unfortunately stuck with him for quite some time. And not that many people like Edgeworth because of it. Why else would Lana would actually make him the fall, or attempt to make him the fall guy for a murder that she committed? This really is not looking good on our part. Also, apparently from what we understand, Lana Sky is a nice person. But name one boss you know that would try to frame you for murder by throwing a dead body in your car. Yeah, exactly. Kind of a dick move there, Lana. So on that note, she actually was a nice person, according to Emma. And again, Edgeworth wants to know what... Wait, she stabbed him with his knife? She really was trying to send him up the river. But that's the knife that Edgeworth was going to pop open the trunk with. I think despite how good-looking Edgeworth's car was, it's actually a death trap. That's why he has that knife, because sometimes the trunk doesn't open. So on that note, you can examine his room all you like. You find out that Edgeworth is actually a Steel Samurai fan, but the one thing you want to examine is the trophy with a big K on it. And Edgeworth is highly embarrassed about that trophy, being awarded King of the Prosecutors, which is why all the other prosecutors hate him. And this was, by the way, awarded by the police. And Edgeworth is really embarrassed about that statue, period. Now we're going to have to actually... We can examine it again if we want to, but we had to examine it just to get the statue into the evidence. So on that note, we're going to have to present the statue to him, much to his dismay, and eventually his knife. Edgeworth is just not having any of Phoenix's shit today. Not just because of the fact that he also got off of murder 2 weeks fresh, but he was also framed, and now he has to pretty much prosecute the person who framed him. And he lost a whole day of work going straight to the police station to get this trophy. I mean, he appreciates the thought, he just don't care. So now I think we just open up another option to talk to him about, which is the day of the crime. Seeing as how Edgeworth actually does have an alibi, despite the fact that Edgeworth was almost framed. Even then, he still would have an alibi. And of course, Lana is writing useless things. I mean, she's trying to learn, but sometimes when she takes notes of the useless thing. And that was something you should have took note of. Edgeworth mentioned something about him arriving at 5:12. The murder took place at 5:15. And Edgeworth has the parking stub to prove it. In other words, as soon as he left, somebody just stuffed his car with a corpse. And speaking of somebody who's, well, stiff as one, meet Officer Meekins. Meekins, how should I put this? He's a guy who constantly takes his job seriously. However, he's more of a comic relief because he's at the wrong place at the wrong time. And while we're at it, he's also a person that has a penchant of being, accused of murder. It's as if Capcom has not learned its lesson about subtlety. So on that note, Meekins came all the way to give Edgeworth a folder of sorts. However, that folder may be of big importance later, but not right now. And Edgeworth is pretty much cost this man his rage. It cost this man his raise. So, yeah. What is it with prosecutors costing police officers their raise? Seriously. So now, sorry about that, the thing cut. It cut right in the middle of Emma talking, so quite frankly, I couldn't actually recover that part, but we were pretty much finished talking with him in that point. I don't think we have to present the knife just yet. We're gonna have to use that as evidence though in the trial. I thought we did. My memory's kind of fuzzy there. So we could actually talk to... Actually, no, we're not going to talk to anybody. We're going to the police station. Yes. The police station. With that thing. The bad badger. Where... Or is that the blue badger? It doesn't matter, but the freaking badger makes its debut here. Although it is a mascot in the police station ever since, I do believe, Case 3. This is where it's the most notorious. And by the end of this case, you will hate this thing. I promise you. I'm not trying to scare you, but there's a mini game later on that involves this. And when I get to it, you will find out about it. And I'll try to not waste your time and actually get the minigame right on the first going. So on that note, we practically have to sit out here and wait until we actually find something. Well, we did. We find Gumshoe dancing with the blue badger. Why do I keep thinking of the bad badger? This isn't Ace Attorney. And Gumshoe was dancing with the blue badger because of the fact that he literally has nothing to do. Well, you think I'm kidding? Let's talk to the guy. Unfortunately, Gumshoe is informing us all something I've also mentioned yesterday's part, and that is the fact that Bruce Goodman is a detective. Worse, he's actually a sergeant. And by him being a high-ranking officer, that means one thing. He's probably gonna have... No, the whole police is gonna try to do everything in their power to put Lana under the jail. Despite the fact that she may or may not have done it, they don't care. A dead man's a cop? That means she's either going under the jail or possibly on death row. All signs point to the latter. Killing cops is not a good thing. However, Gumshoe doesn't have work because he's been kicked out of criminal affairs by the chief of police. So on that note, Gumshoe has literally nothing to do but to dance with the blue badger. Why do I keep saying bad badger? Seriously, I hate that fucking badger. So they actually replaced him with the lowest ranking guy. In case you're wondering who that guy was, that would be Jake Marshall. I think that's a bit of irony, but still. So on that note, we're gonna have to keep talking to Gumshoe, and eventually Gumshoe will give us an invitation so that we'll be able to continue investigating. Possibly the car. So, we will have to go back to the prosecutor's parking lot, at least. But first, we need to show him something. And I think that is the, yeah, we're gonna have to present the trophy, actually, to Gumshoe first, and then the knife. That's where the knife comes in. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that, my controller was starting to act up, so I had to stop and reconnect it. But whatever the case, folks, we have to examine the Blue Badger now. Much to my utter dismay. But the dancing Blue Badger was made by Gumshoe, and you probably haven't noticed, but the Blue Badger has tape on one of its horns, I do believe. And what part of that is a badger? Whatever the case, this badger will be important in, well, at least 2 or 3 cases later on in the series. So, on that note, we had to bring in the Blue Badger because we can't really end the episode without it. So, on that note, let's see if we can present the knife, I do believe. I actually have to present the ID, that's what it is. And then we present the knife. So, it turns out Gumshoe is so much of a klutz that he also drops his ID card a lot. And it turns out Goodman is actually someone that Gumshoe doesn't really know. Well, he did know now, he's the victim basically. But on a personal level he didn't know because of the fact that Bruce Goodman was a decent detective, but he doesn't interact with Gumshoe. So, on that note, Bruce Goodman used to be known as detective, but he was also demoted as sergeant for some reason. We'll find out exactly what's going on. But I do know this. Gumshoe mentioned something about evidence for a case that was handled 2 years ago. And it turned out Lana's guy called out Bruce Goodman, and Bruce Goodman got killed as an end result. And now we have to show off this disgusting looking trophy because, well, Edgeworth obviously doesn't like it. And the award is practically a shield, and it looks like it's been broken. As it stands, there is a reason why that is broken. Unfortunately, Gumshoe is not going to tell us. But it is a part of Edgeworth's statue that happens to be missing. We'll find out what it is later. I think there's something else. No, I think we can leave now. I think we're missing something very important. Oh, right. I think I remember. We either present the parking stub or the knife. It doesn't matter which one. Both of them will be shown up. But Prosecutor Sky tried to pin this on Edgeworth, but she didn't realize about the parking stub. But somebody has a grudge with Edgeworth, and they wanted him to be pretty much incarcerated for the rest of his life, but that didn't happen because Angel Star was there. So on that note, we have to once again look in the past and also have to relive the case we just got finished doing 2 parts ago. because all the attorneys kind of hate him because of his dealings, which would eventually lead on to this. But Edgeworth practically had a tough life, and the case last part, which was basically wrapping up the DL6 incident before it went completely closed forever, that is as much a backstory as you're going to get from Edgeworth. Because that backstory was absolutely tragic. Now, this case is a lot different. This case was closed, and yet for some reason Lana still has the potential to be in jail for the rest of her life. So, Edgeworth was the only person who volunteered to persecute Lana Skye because of the fact that she practically, for no reason, put a dead body in his car. So, we will have to go back to the parking lot, and once again we are going to have to give the letter over to Jake Goodman. However, we had to talk to Gumshoe one last time after unlocking the 3 sections that we could have unlocked. To talk to him with. Sorry about that, I'm just stumbling up my words here. And we are practically going to have to use this letter to investigate the entire area. Alright. We're going to have to, oh, wait, it's Angel Star again. I think we've already dealt with Angel this time around. And Angel was actually flirting with the security guard in criminal affairs. So now, we'll just have to wait till Jake Marshall actually finishes his quote-unquote imitation as a cowboy. So, the fact that he, a low-ranking officer, was in charge of this place, that ought to speak volumes. So we're going to have to give him this, and now we can investigate wherever we want. And hopefully we'll turn over something. Now then. Gumshoe also bumblingly misspelled the letter of introduction instead of letter of invitation. But seeing as how Gumshoe did write it, because Gumshoe would actually be the one to do it, now we have full access to the entirety of the murder scene. And Emma is still trying to find out why is he there and he's not even a detective. Oh, there will be a lot of questions answered, but why in the hell did he say manifest destiny? Are you... God damn it. Of all the dumbass things to say. Manifest destiny? Really? That's not what cowboys normally say. Alright, so now we can just scoot on over to the next side and actually examine the car. So what we're going to do is, well, we can actually talk to Jake Marshall as well, but after we talk to him and he'll just give us a repeat of what just happened, we could go over to the car itself and actually investigate. So, seeing as how everyone is confirming that Detective Goodman has been stabbed at 5:15, while Edgeworth had arrived at 5:12, it really should not have taken 3 minutes to hit the body and also hide the body of another security agent, because somebody had to see her do all this stuff, let alone try to shuffle. Okay, not try to shuffle. Why did I say shuffle? Not let alone trying to well, I was right. I would say trying to shuffle a body into a trunk in a matter of 3 minutes. I mean, how in the world did anybody not see Lana? I mean, she's literally right in front of cameras. Whatever the case, we just need to keep talking to Jake Marshall, and eventually he'll open up about something. And, of course, he's actually trying to shave with a rusty knife. Wow! Pretty sure not all cowboys do that. So, on that note, Jake Marshall makes the joke that they're make the statement that they're short on men. It's not really a joke in a way sense, but it's a statement. However, Gumshoe is still in the area. However, bear in mind, Gumshoe also has ties with Miles Edgeworth, so they, of course, kicked him off of the case because he would be trying to help whoever it is that's trying to get this guy, or at least trying to get Lana Skye, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. They'll be able to help try to get Lana Skye off of the case and pretty much into freedom, even though she probably deserves it. Because stabbing someone is an accessory after the fact. However, we now have a phone, which is great. So now, we need for Emma to basically scan the phone one last time. So that means we're going to have to push the button as soon as it glows, and more importantly, we need to activate the call button. So that way we will be able to find out exactly who it is this phone belongs to. And this phone, by quite far, would actually break this case wide open. I don't know why, it will. So on that note, we're just waiting until it gets to the point where we have to press the receiver button in order for the phone to actually activate. So on that note, let's do that. If for some reason the controller is not, acting up. Well, Phoenix did actually activate the phone. The problem is, the phone itself was working, and it also gave away Phoenix and Emma's position. The phone that we just activated did not belong to Goodman, but it actually belongs to Lana Skye. And Lana is pretty much being all but accused of murder and pretty much genocide. Well, she didn't kill anybody yet, but still. You never know if she still decides to be going on the loose. Well, let's see. Whatever the case, you had to literally lie to Jake Marshall's face in order for it to actually keep the evidence. Well, you don't lie. Phoenix will automatically lie and say the phone that was called was not the phone that belonged to Emma. Phoenix is only calling about the patient that the suspect, however, that's in detention right now. So on that note, we could just investigate the car and get whatever we need and get the hell out of here. But this is something interesting. This is actually a picture that has the word 675 on there. Now, if you turn it upside down, actually it'll be a lot different. And so, we'll be taking that as evidence, because we'll be needing that. As much as it looks asinine, we will definitely be needing that. Let's see, alright, now that we've got the letter out of Goodman's trunk, I think we could still talk to him, or we could actually examine the letter, because this letter is not actually upside up. Let's see if we still have to talk to him. Oh, we still do. We're not done just yet. Now then, Jake Marshall actually let it slip that Lana and Goodman has no connection, but she still killed them anyway. So, with that said, the entirety of the police force wants Lana's head, and they aren't gonna rest until they get it. So, it turns out there may be something between Jake Marshall and Lana, but that all fizzled out. Whatever the case, we just need to go on ahead and find out more about the prosecutor's office. Because Edgeworth has a bad reputation, so framing him would have actually made her look good instead of Edgeworth. Because in a way, since she was trying to frame him for a crime, but if nobody would have caught her and she would have put Edgeworth guilty, then she probably would have been in the right, because there wouldn't be enough evidence, and she'd make sure that it would all disappear. That's the problem. And all those connections that Miles had, Lana is responsible for that too. And with that said, while Edgeworth was trying to follow in Von Karma's footsteps with his corruption and greed, Lana was doing the exact same thing, except on a grander scale, as you will soon see. Well, later on in this case. But whatever the case, we've got an autopsy report, so at least we know what we're up against. Except we still have to deal with the fact that Lana still claims that she did it, and she practically was trying to confess to this. But even worse, she also had contacted Emma, because that was the last person she was going to contact before this whole ordeal happened. And at least that truth is revealed, considering the fact that she practically pled the fifth in every single conversation. On that note, we've got enough evidence for the next trial that we're going to be going to. And folks, this isn't going to be a one and done thing with the trials. Oh no! The next two parts is going to be Trial 2-1, and that's basically going to be a two-parter because of how long it is, and all that will be next Thursday and Friday of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney at part 37 and 38 respectively.